At the point when an excited caretaker inadvertently becomes an eager mother, she finds an objective in her back and how the rich use cash to pull off murder. After her day of work at a cafe, Daisy encourages her collaborator, Gina, to look at the close by the scene where a lady leaped off a structure. In spite of her falterings, Gina goes with her, grumbling how her companion likes to put her nose on such occasions. The next day, Daisy meets with Martha, who's investigating recruiting her for the well-off family she works for. Not long after her meeting, Martha takes the new babysitter to meet her manager, Roxanne, who's pregnant with twins. This amazements Daisy since she wasn't informed she'd be really focusing on twins. Roxanne gripes that Martha didn't explain this, so to redress, she offers the caretaker 2 times the concurred compensation, causing Daisy a deep sense of pleasure. After this, Daisy gets gotten comfortable her new room before the room of the lady's more seasoned little girl. This was explicitly mentioned by Roxanne, who maintains that their caretaker should be close by in the event that they need her around midnight. Before sufficiently long, Daisy meets Roxanne's girl, Nami, for whom she'll primarily be capable for until the twins show up. Subsequent to showing up from school, the young lady heads to her room, making the caretaker keep thinking about whether she will not welcome her mom first. Nami makes sense of that she should switch garments and wash around prior to seeing her pregnant mother. With this, Daisy attempts to help her, yet Nami proclaims that she can deal with herself. Notwithstanding the youngster's briskness to her, Daisy grins, causing Nami to relax towards her apiece. During supper, Roxanne asks her little girl her thought process of her new caretaker. Nami answers that Daisy enjoys her, having perused it all over. Hearing this makes Daisy grin. Adding to her karma, she later will eat the family's extras, subsequently letting her partake in a touch of extravagance. Before long, the man in charge, William, gets back. Nami joyfully welcomes him and presents her new babysitter while Martha makes sense of that the lady was alluded to her by a neighbor whom Daisy recently worked for. The man just gives the new woman a terse hello prior to making a beeline for his room to keep an eye on his significant other. Minutes after the fact, Daisy shows up with some wine that William requested. After she leaves, Roxanne lets her significant other know that Daisy concentrated on youth improvement in school, however excited. William questions, assuming this is an adequate number of qualifications to bring up kids. However, his better half guarantees him that the lady appears to like being around kids. At long last finished with work, Daisy chooses her bed, just for Nami to shout to her. She requests that her babysitter keep her entryway open so she won't feel alone around evening time, and Daisy consents. The next day, Daisy conveys breakfast to William while he's playing the piano in the pool house. She appreciates the music yet doesn't interfere with him and leaves. After William leaves for work, Daisy is interested to really focus both on his better half and little girl. At the point when the man returns, he discovers her cleaning their bath, which places her in an abnormal position. He eyes the caretaker with interest while his better half is simple inches away, so Daisy wraps up and leaves unobtrusively. Days after the fact, Daisy and the family head to their oceanside house for the end of the week. Around evening time, the caretaker plays with Nami in the pool, ignorant that William is watching her once more. To overlook his desires, the man welcomes his better half into the water similarly as Nami chooses to rest. Notwithstanding, Roxanne gets awkward and demands heading to sleep, all things considered. The several attempts to get personal in their room, however, once more, Roxanne gets awkward, furthermore, will not proceed. After she falls asleep, her unsatisfied spouse heads to Daisy's room and offers the confounded babysitter a beverage. Without trading words, the man starts closeness with the new woman, and the lady obliges. Throughout the following couple of days, Daisy can't resist the urge to feel remorseful when she's around Roxanne, all the more so when she gets William looking at her. Despite this, she stays a devoted caretaker with Nami, with whom she's framed a bond. Following quite a while of opposing enticements, in any case, William before long visits Daisy's space to spend an energetic night with her. Unbeknownst to them, Martha is stirred by their voices, so she heads up and finds the pair together. During their experience, Daisy falters and requests that the man stop, yet he goes on until he's fulfilled. The next morning, Martha expresses nothing as they get ready for breakfast, in any event, sending Daisy to her everyday practice of carrying William's dinner to the pool house. This time, the caretaker stops and watches the man play the piano. Shockingly, he leaves a check for her in return for keeping their energetic evening confidential. Stunned, Daisy goes to the house and sobs as she understands that the man has treated her like a lady of the evening. Martha sees this and, realizing what occurred, encourages the lady to simply continue with the day. That night, Martha concedes that she feels for how, in their work, they should figure out how to take everything in and overcome the day. She shares that she and her mother used to work for Roxanne's mom before they became affluent. Luckily for the lady, Roxanne wedded rich and accomplished, living like a sovereign like she generally cared about. While concentrating on the other lady's body, Martha sees something and inquires as to whether the babysitter has had sweethearts. Daisy uncovers that she hasn't, since she thought it was an exercise in futility, and this makes Martha is dubious. The next day, Martha meets with Roxanne's mom, Esther, and offers how William dozed with the new babysitter. Esther faults her previous maid for employing one, yet Martha guards that it was her little girl who picked Daisy out of the candidates she gave. Martha then, at that point, uncovers that Daisy is ignorant that she's pregnant, having seen the changes in the babysitter's body. Considering this, she thinks Daisy is excessively absent to have moved toward imagining William's kid for cash. Esther questions this since the babysitter laid down with her child in regulation. In any case, Martha faults Roxanne for being unmindful of her significant other's desires and employing an alluring caretaker to entice him. This causes Esther to gripe about how her girl could cause problems if she doesn't observe over her life. In the meantime, Daisy gets together with Gina and enlightens her regarding her relationship with her manager. The caretaker persuades herself that it is heartfelt and even thinks about the check as a gift. Notwithstanding, Gina considers how she can be around the man's significant other in the wake of lying down with him. Daisy disregards it, protecting that it's done as of now, so she can't transform it. This isn't true until the end of the family, in any case, as Esther has Daisy clean the crystal fixture when she later visits. The lady then, at that point, arranges a mishap to make the caretaker tumble off the stepping stool. Frantic, the lady swings from the crystal fixture, in any case falls. This sends her to the emergency clinic. With the caretaker far removed, Esther uncovers William's faithlessness in her girl and how Daisy is conveying his youngster. Before long, Martha reports to them that Daisy just experienced a blackout and a swollen pelvis, from which she can recuperate in 2 or 3 days. This irritates Esther as she trusts that the fall will make Daisy lose her condition. With this, she arranges for Martha to settle things with the babysitter. After finishing the call, Esther guarantees her little girl that she'll figure out things. Burnt out on her interfering, Roxanne requests that her mom let her family be. Notwithstanding, the lady advises her that she needs to wed rich, and to keep her marriage, she needs to hold on to the show that it incorporates. Somewhere else, Martha visits Daisy and imagines that Esther is looking for pardon in the structure of one more check with an enormous total. The maid makes sense of that the rich accept they can simply toss cash at any issue. To laborers like them, it's anything but a terrible compromise, so she ought to simply gobble it up and take her best. Regardless of the huge total in her grasp, nonetheless, Daisy is horrified by the thought. Martha gets back, and Roxanne chastens the person for spreading tattle about her significant other without telling her first. Before they can talk about this further, William returns. The man before long beginnings pressing for his work excursion, and Martha helps him. Notwithstanding, Roxanne is as yet holding resentment against the more seasoned lady, so she begins tossing impolite comments at her. Along these lines, Martha later beverages in her room, yelling to herself about how selfish Roxanne is, the point at which she was the person who for all intents and purposes raised her. She likewise reprimands Esther for claiming to be her companion and promising her numerous things, just to keep her around to keep serving her little girl. Unsteadily, she pronounces that destiny will have way with the family took her life. The next day, Daisy at long last discovers that she's pregnant. Shell-stunned, the lady later owns up to Gina that she's thinking about disposing of her condition. Nonetheless, her companion encourages her to leave, all things being equal. She's now gotten a huge total so she can deal with her youngster all alone. Stressed, Gina joins Daisy when she gets back to her manager's home to really focus on her. She even purchases supplemental milk to help with her pregnancy. While she's resting, Esther moves toward the lady and apologizes for causing the mishap. However, in truth, she wishes that the fall had killed the caretaker. Gina in the end goes to work, leaving her companion under the vindictive family's control. As she dozes that evening, Roxanne slips into her room with a golf club, considering about taking the lady's life. Notwithstanding, Martha finds her doing this, so she forsakes her arrangements and leaves. On one more evening, the neglectful Daisy imparts to her associate how she doesn't feel agreeable around the house any longer. Along these lines, she ponders stopping, and Martha energizes her, expecting in excess her. Unbeknownst to them, Roxanne is before long examining terminating Daisy. Her mom calls attention to that as long as the lady has William's youngster, Roxanne will continuously feel compromised. With that, the lady asks her mom for counsel. Afterward, Daisy moves toward her boss and reports her abdication. Incredibly, Roxanne slaps the lady and uncovers that she knows it all. With this, Esther arranges the babysitter to end her condition and leave their lives for good, in any event, enticing her with a bigger aggregate to persuade the lady. Broken by the occasions, Daisy cries in bed, communicating how she ought to have been considered Roxanne prior to permitting William to utilize her. The maid, in any case, brings up that it's William's issue, not hers. In any case, she encourages the babysitter to acknowledge their deal and continue on. As Martha dismisses to leave, Daisy unexpectedly apologizes to her. The servant tells her she shouldn't apologize, nor would it be advisable for her she permit the family to do what they need with her. Fuming from her penances to the careless family, Martha advises her to go to bat for herself also, retaliate. In the meantime, Roxanne shares her questions that Daisy could at any point dispose of her condition since the lady likes kids. With this, she and her mom contrived a more substantial arrangement. That night, Nami visits her babysitter and advises her to rest first so she can look after her. She's worried about her since she realizes Esther drove her over the stepping stool intentionally, having heard her grandma and Roxanne discuss this. This shocks Daisy, so Nami adds that she trusts she's a decent individual and needs nothing to happen to her. The lady expresses gratitude toward her for this while concealing her displeasure about the disclosure. The following morning, Roxanne heads to a market to get some illegal medication, which she later blends in with the milk in the babysitter's room. Martha sees her approaching out of the lady's room. However, before she can explore, her boss requests her to move Daisy into her room on the lower floor. That night, the babysitter gets together to move and beverages her milk to the surprise of no one, ignorant about what Roxanne blended into it. Nami discovers her getting together, so Daisy pardons that her new caretaker will move into the room before long. This annoys the young lady, so Daisy guarantees her that she's totally fine. She's simply expecting her very own offspring, so she needs to take things simple. The possibility of the lady becoming a mother energizes Nami, making Daisy wonder about what she, as a matter of fact, needs. The young lady then joins her mom to go to the medical clinic as Roxanne is going to conceive an offspring. The next day, Daisy approaches Martha and tells her that she's chosen to keep her kid. The maid upholds her choice prior to hit up Esther to tell her the news. In the interim, William shows up at the emergency clinic and meets his infant twins. In any case, when he kisses his better half, she nibbles him to pronounce that she understands what he did. Not having any desire to create a situation, the spouse simply pardons himself and leaves. Sometime thereafter, Daisy experiences a terrible stomach throb. Frantic, she later astonishments William in his bath when he gets back. She entices him prior to uncovering that she's conveying his kid, yet his mother by marriage. Furthermore, spouse offered her cash to dispose of it. Daisy proclaims that she would rather not lose her kid, so she arranges the man to do something about this. Out of nowhere, her aggravation begins once more, making her cry. In spite of this, William simply leaves as the water in the tub becomes red. The next day, William monitors the wiped-out caretaker lastly chooses to help the lady and his kid with her.